Pakistan Beyond Crisis State Book Summary Part 2. Chapter No. 13 in book is The India Factor by Syed Rifat Hussain. This chapter, written by Dr. Syed Rifat Hussain, analyzes the strained relationship between India and Pakistan and lists some Indo-Pak agreements from 1948 to 2009. He examined 4 factors that can be helpful in mitigating the long-standing hostility between the two countries. First and foremost, there is a clash of conflicting ideologies. Centuries of opposition to such diametrically opposed systems as Islam and Hinduism could not but nurture an utterly different outlook on the outside world among their respective followers, writes S.M. Burke. The second factor that contributes to the tense relationship between the two countries is Pakistan's fear of India's massive size and economic asymmetry. Thirdly, the trauma of partition contributed to perpetual hostility. Lastly, the unresolved Kashmir issue is one of the primary factors. Due to these factors, India and Pakistan pursued a unilateralist way of thinking about security. Moreover, this chapter explores nuclearization, the impact of 9/11, and strategies to prevent a looming Indo-Pak war. Chapter No. 14 is Reversing Strategic Shrinkage by Munir Akram. Munir Akram, a former Pakistani UN representative and foreign policy expert, discusses the external challenges ranging from TTP to the Afghan crisis, and the Kashmir issue to nuclear deterrence on the geopolitical front. He highlighted the current multifaceted issues faced by Pakistan, including TTP attacks, alienation of Baloch, growing poverty, economic stagnation, and strategic marginalization. He stressed the need to leverage the strategic relationship with China to foster national interests and objectives. In retrospect, Pakistan remained a strategically challenged state in terms of the huge refugee influx, bureaucratic structures, and hostility from India. Through the tenacity and sacrifices of its armed forces and people, Pakistan has succeeded in combating and reversing terrorism. A new South Asian paradigm would serve the interests of Pakistanis, Indians, and other regional states to transform into the latest Asian economic miracle. Only competent leadership through holistic and national efforts can confront the emerging strategic challenges. Chapter No. 15 in book is Pakistan as a Nuclear State by Feroz Hassan Khan. This chapter examines Pakistan's national security as a result of its nuclear policies as well as its future prospects. It explains why Pakistan's leadership decided to launch a nuclear bomb program, and how Pakistan formed nuclear doctrine. Feroz Hassan investigates the plausible role of nuclear armaments in Pakistan's regional security. The first section of this chapter underlines the contours of 50 years of efforts to preserve nuclear deterrence. The second section looks into how the deterrent became operational during testing and how a credible command and control system emerged over time. The third section examines Pakistan's emerging force postures as well as attempts to maintain regional strategic stability. The final section concludes with potential future trajectories for Pakistan over the next decade. Chapter No. 16 in book is Turning Energy Around by Ziad Al-Adad. Pakistan's energy sector is a huge impediment to the country's economic development. Despite ample installed capacity, the so-called circular debt has crippled many energy-related enterprises and curtailed power supplies. In this chapter, Ziad Al-Adad stresses the concept of IEP integrated energy planning. He claims that Pakistan has the capacity to rapidly revive the integrated approach with the assistance of supporting institutional structures. The concept of IEP and policy formulation was initiated in Pakistan in the 1980s, but due to the disintegration of policy institutions, it could not be sustained. Circular debt is a clear example of how short-term bailout solutions were formed to neglect long-term policies. There is a pervasive misconception that Pakistan lacks installed capacity, but the numbers speak for themselves. IEP is a critical component of economic planning that enables the most efficient use of energy resources to achieve social and economic development. In a nutshell, IEP consolidates the energy sector policies to meet national social and economic targets while maintaining close coordination among all energy subsectors. The IEP mechanism is intended to facilitate coordination, and the associated institutional structure modernizes and reduces bureaucracy and red tape. There is a pressing need for the integration of energy management plans in order to optimize investment in the energy sector. Furthermore, in order to compete with other nations, our policies must be data-driven because models are useless if accurate data is not fed into the system. Criticism on book Pakistan, Beyond the Crisis State. I disagree with a few points made in this Pakistan, Beyond the Crisis State. It claims that the military's hegemony over politics is waning, which is not true. Some contributors do not provide a detailed argument in favor of their suggested policy and corrective measures. Buzzwords like better governance and reforms are repeated ad nauseum with no logical basis. The sequence of the chapters in Pakistan, Beyond the Crisis State, should have been more logical and chronological. In a nutshell, this book is a jack of all trades and master of none. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel.